Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to be your guide today as we decode the everyday. We so often go looking for these massive, complicated philosophies to solve our modern problems. But today, we're taking a completely different approach. We are looking at simple, everyday vignettes, everything from figuring out the subway to surviving a truly disastrous late-night online shopping spree, because honestly, they hold the actual keys to living a smarter and far more empathetic life.
Think about this quote for a second. Happy memories are better than any medal. This comes from a great little story about a community family fun day. You've got these two siblings, Leo and Maya, and they actually gave up their practice time for a tug-of-war competition. Why? Just to include a brand new, kinda lonely kid named Red. Now, spoiler alert, they ended up losing the game. But they realized that the connection they made with Red was worth infinitely more than some gold cup. It's just a perfect reminder that the little things, yeah, they're actually the big things.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 4 key areas: empathy in everyday encounters, navigating daily life smartly, the power of good habits, and finally, overcoming workplace self-doubt. Let's just dive right in, shall we?
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Empathy in Everyday Encounters.
Picture this massive contrast between our snap judgments and the actual, heartwarming reality. So Leo and Maya crash their bikes right into Mr. Miller's yard. And to them, Mr. Miller is literally the neighborhood villain. He's always yelling, "Keep your voices down," and aggressively guarding his flower beds. But when the kids accidentally peek inside his house, they don't find a monster at all. They find his wife, who happens to be very ill. It turns out he planted that incredible flower bush specifically because she loves flowers, but she's just too weak to go outside. He demands quiet simply to protect her rest.
So the grumpy neighbor isn't an antagonist after all, right? He's actually a fiercely loving caretaker. When we experience friction with strangers, it is so incredibly easy to assume the absolute worst. But everybody has a story playing out behind closed doors. Reframing our perspective from judgment to genuine curiosity, that changes literally everything.
Moving right along to Section 2, Navigating Daily Life Smartly.
Okay, we have all absolutely been there, trapped in that deeply flawed logic of sleep-deprived online shopping. Meet Grace. She stayed up way past her bedtime, got completely lured in by this flashing 90% off sign at the silly stuff store, and proceeded to buy an automatic egg breaker, a giant pencil, an umbrella hat, and jeans that were 5 sizes too big for her husband. The delivery driver literally showed up the next morning with a completely empty truck.
Now, Grace kind of jokes that her wallet is empty, saying, "Happiness is expensive." But honestly, it proves a really solid point. Chasing that 2 a.m. dopamine hit usually just leaves you with a living room full of random junk and a rather painful lesson in financial responsibility. The takeaway here? Step away from the digital cart when you're sleep-deprived.
Now, on the flip side of those late-night impulse buys, making smart, conscious daily choices yields some highly practical benefits. Imagine a family facing just massive weekend gridlock traffic trying to get to Grandma's house. Instead of sitting in the car feeling totally frustrated, the dad pivots. They go underground. Sure, navigating the subway map takes a second to figure out, but the reward is huge. You get fresh air, a bit of exercise walking to the station, it's a major win for the environment, and boom, they arrive 10 minutes early for lunch.
But here's the catch. With that kind of convenience comes shared social responsibility. The subway is a total marvel of modern life, but it only functions if everyone respects the social contract. You know the drill. You wait behind the yellow line, you let people exit first before you barge in, and just like young Maya did in this story, you offer up your seat to those who might need it more. Navigating the world smartly really just means respecting the systems and, more importantly, the people within them.
Which naturally brings us to Section 3, the power of good habits.
I actually want to ask you this directly right now. What are your bad habits? Think about it. A young student named Leo had a teacher who asked him to write about his daily routines and explicitly identify his bad habits. And it forced him to take a really hard, honest look at his own behavior.
It's eye-opening, right? Indulging in iPad games late at night makes us tired and run down the next day. But simple solutions can completely flip the script. In his assignment, Leo realizes he was begging for 5 more minutes of screen time instead of just going to sleep. He dropped a milk box on the sidewalk instead of finding a bin. He even almost ate a burger with hands covered in paint. These aren't just random isolated mistakes. They actually form a whole system of poor habits.
And the beautiful thing is, mastering these tiny, daily acts fundamentally shapes our well-being. Making your bed, taking a second to wash your hands, actively putting your screen away,
These aren't just annoying chores. They're literally the foundational building blocks of an energized, healthy life. Bad routines drain us, while good routines sustain us. It's that simple.
And finally, let's hit section 4, overcoming workplace self-doubt. Okay, put yourself in Ethan's shoes for a second. Imagine the intense pressure of your very first day as a systems administrator. Ethan walks into this massive, intimidating modern office, gets handed a gigantic stack of company rules, and he is so incredibly nervous that he just straight up knocks over a glass of water. A huge mess right in front of his new coworkers, who instantly start whispering, "Wait, is this guy really capable of fixing our computers?" It's a total nightmare scenario. But then, out of nowhere, a critical system bug hits. The head admin is out sick, and the entire team goes into a full-blown panic.
Now, despite that spilled water and all the hushed whispering, Ethan actually steps up. He recognizes the bug, calmly writes the code, hits enter, and literally saves the entire office from a massive tech meltdown. He didn't let his clumsy start define his whole day. It's this stunning turnaround that proves competence isn't about being perfectly smooth 100% of the time. It's about stepping up to the plate when it actually counts.
So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. How can you apply these seemingly beginner-level lessons to your incredibly complex life today? Because as we've seen, life's greatest truths are usually hiding right there in plain sight. Showing a little grace to a grumpy neighbor, stepping away from your phone at 2 a.m., or just trusting your own training when the whole office is panicking, these are the daily practices that build a genuinely well-lived life. So, take a close look at your own everyday encounters. What lesson are you currently missing? Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and keep learning.